First then, the foreign ministers of Denmark and Greenland are heading to the White House today as President Donald Trump has once again reiterated his intention to control the world's largest island. Today he posted on Truth Social that anything less than Greenland in the hands of the United States is unacceptable. He went on to say that NATO will become more effective with Greenland under American control. Well, Trump, as I say, making those comments just hours before the Danish and Greenlander foreign ministers arrive at the White House today for urgent talks with Secretary of State Marco Rubio and the Vice President J.D. Vance. Indeed, those talks are expected to begin very shortly. Well, let's start the programme by listening to the view of some in the Greenland capital, Nuuk.
What is he going to do with Greenland? He speaks of Russians and Chinese and everything in Greenlandic waters or in our country. We are only 57,000 people. The only Chinese I see is when I go to the fast food market.
There are ships around the coast from other countries, but we have never ever have any problem with these ships before.
It is quite overwhelming, especially with the example he set with Venezuela. It is like kind of last year it was a whole different thing. It felt more neutral. It felt more of a negotiation. This year it feels more of a threat.
It will happen. The United States will try to buy Greenland or they will invade it. It's okay to be scared. It's okay to be frightened. But after that, we need to think clearly and think about how can we defend our country.
And with me live now is Ulrik Pram Gad, Senior Research Fellow at the Danish Institute for International Studies, to talk then a little bit about Greenland and particularly about this meeting today at the White House. Hello to you and thanks for joining us. First of all, what are you expecting today from this meeting between these top Greenlander and Danish foreign ministers and between the American government?
I think it is very difficult to expect anything specific. Explosive meetings can come out of the entering the White House. I think what we cannot expect is this meeting to end the thing in the sense that they will not come out with a finalizing deal that settle this matter once and for all.
Look, might they be negotiating, though? Do you think the Danes could offer up some kind of deal to Donald Trump? He has said he'd quite like to buy Greenland.
The thing is, there's no way that Denmark or Greenland can accept that Greenland should be American, should be part of the U.S., should be acquired by the U.S. On the other hand, as the Greenlanders say, we're not for sale, but we're open for business. There's a lot of things that Greenland would actually like to cooperate with the U.S. on in terms of trade, investment, mining, etc. Danes and Greenlanders have been very clear saying that all the security problems you have, we've been working with you on them for decades and we'll still work with you on that. Trouble is that there is no boats from China and Russia around Greenland at the moment. There is no urgent threat of invasion by China or Russia. So all this escalation for the sake of creating a negotiation position is actually devastating to both the NATO alliance, but also to overall security in the Arctic.
And so what do you think the Danish foreign minister is going to say today in this meeting? I mean, beyond saying, look, Denmark isn't for sale, what is going to be their argument to the Trump administration?
The basic message is that Greenland is not for sale. Greenlanders have their own self-determination. And if you don't respect that, we'll have to... That's our red line. We cannot pass that. Neither Denmark nor Greenland can pass that red line. But if you have anything that you'd like to cooperate on, we're happy to do that. Greenland has been looking for investors to its mining sector for decades. It's very difficult to present a business case because most of the production line is in China anyway. But if the West, the US and Europe is gearing up for strategic independence in minerals, there might be a very interesting role for Greenland to play in that. If we need to beef up military defense of the continental US with installations in Greenland. Greenland and Denmark has been welcoming that, but the US haven't asked for anything. So it's difficult so far to meet a deal that's either acquisition or so unspecific that it's difficult to talk about.
And at the top of the programme, we played a couple of sound bites from people in Nuuk. Give us a deeper sense, though, of how it is people in Greenland, or perhaps in Denmark as well, view this meeting today. How much pressure is the Danish foreign minister and the Greenlander foreign minister on to come out of the White House with something that sounds, slightly less threatening towards Greenland?
I think the sentiments in Nuuk and Copenhagen, they're slightly different. Both places would really like this thing to be settled, because both Danes and Greenlanders basically have been happy to cooperate with and are proud allies of the US. In Denmark, it's a feeling of being disappointed and betrayed. Denmark contributed troops to Afghanistan and Iraq, even though most Danes thought it was a weird American war, not our security problem. In Greenland has been working to diversify its dependence on Denmark for decades. Greenland really wants to graduate to formal sovereign statehood, but there's a realization in Greenland has been for years that Greenland would, in any case, even as a sovereign state, need to have a security arrangement with the US, but also need to have financial and welfare arrangements with other countries. So Greenland is eager to play a responsible role in global politics and global resource production, but it's difficult to get to play that role when you're negotiating down the barrel of a gun.
Yeah, and I want to ask you about some comments today by the Danish Minister of Defence. He said that Denmark is in talks now with allies on, quote, an increased NATO presence in the Arctic. What does that mean in practice when, of course, the United States, whatever the language by Donald Trump today, is a member of NATO?
Yeah, of course, that's a weird double communication from the European NATO allies, which is probably necessary at this point. But on the one hand, we try to assure the US that the rational security needs you have in Greenland, because you're afraid of Chinese and particularly Russian nukes flying over Greenland, will assist you in taking care of them. But on the other hand, of course, it's also a way of raising the political price for Donald Trump doing something unilaterally in relation to Greenland. So if there are not just Danish soldiers, but French, German, Swedish, what do I know, soldiers on soil in Greenland, it will be a massive political price for Donald Trump to do something unilaterally.
And look, polls by Greenlanders show that most people, the vast majority of them, oppose some kind of takeover by the United States, but they also do oppose, to a smaller margin, they do oppose Danish control over Greenland. I wonder then, you did touch on this earlier on, but I wonder whether you think the Danish foreign minister and the Greenlander foreign minister want the same thing out of this meeting today at the White House, or if actually they're looking for something slightly different.
Greenlandic polls have said the same thing for decades now, that a majority wants independence, but a majority also only wants independence if it doesn't cost the welfare system of Greenland. So Greenlandic politicians have slowly been working towards securing the Greenlandic economy, developing the human resources and the businesses to be able to be more self-sufficient and self-supplying in economic terms. There's no way that any Greenlander would accept a deal that just swap one colonizer, Denmark, for another, And the message, I think, has been very clear from the Greenlandic Premier and Minister of Foreign Affairs and the very wide coalition government in Greenland, so that we will enter this meeting with Denmark. We will talk to the Americans with Denmark. We will leave the room after Vance and Rubio is finished talking with Denmark. We accept the constitutional relation to Denmark for now, not because that's the ideal thing we want to continue forever, but because that is the platform in which we can perform our right of self-determination now and later when we are ready, perhaps move into formal statehood.
Ulrik Pram Gad speaking to us there from the Danish Institute for International Studies. Thank you very much indeed.
It's a pleasure.